Hello and welcome to Path Connections, Path's first virtual talk story event. For those of you that are new to Path, our full name is actually People for Active Transportation Hawaii, formerly People's Advocacy for Trails Hawaii. New name, same mission, same wonderful mission. Our mission is to connect the people and places on Hawai'i Island with safe bikeways and pathways to get around. We are a 30-plus-year-old nonprofit organization, and this is our inaugural Path Connections virtual talk story event where we dig into all things active transportation. And I could not think of a better way to kick off our Path Connections than by having our dear friend and Path's dear friend and my dear friend and mentor, Tina Clothier, former executive director of Path. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the history of Path, and I'm also going to celebrate the fact that Path won the Hawaii chapter of the American Planning Association's Transportation Award for the Vision Zero Action Plan. And we'll talk more about what that means with Tina Clothier, who is the queen of active transportation, although she'll say no, she's not. But she has been a huge champion for over 30 years for bicycling and walking and running on Hawai'i Island and making sure that everyone has access to safe facilities. So Tina, we're so honored to have you here to help us celebrate this amazing award. But before we get into this, I know folks are going to want to hear a bit about where you've been now that you have retired from Path. Care to share a bit with us about who you are and what you've been up to this year?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. I would love to. Thank you for that lovely introduction, by the way, Jess. So it's been almost a year since Jessica Thompson became our executive director and I faded off into the sunset. I have spent this last year less focused on terrestrial things like the built environment and more focused on my two loves, inner space, the ocean, and outer space, particularly Milky Way. I've spent more time on the water, in the water, and I am trying to perfect my photography of Milky Way and stars and the like. And I have a couple of photos I'd like to share if you don't mind.
Yes, please, please.
Great. Let me see if I can pull those up. I need to share the screen.
And while you're pulling those up, I'll make sure to let folks know that wherever we post this video, we will make sure to link to Tina's website where you'll be able to view her amazing photos.
Thank you. So this is a photo that was taken up on Mauna Kea Access Road in probably August. You can tell because of the direction of the Milky Way. It's getting close to vertical that time of year. This is earlier in the year, probably June or July.
Wow.
And then this is actually not the Milky Way, obviously, but it is Comet Neowise. And this was a picture taken in July, I believe, of last year, 2020. So those are just some of the things that I've been working on, and I really appreciate a chance to share them. Thank you.
Excellent. While you're doing that, I realized this is our first time doing this, and one of the things I did not do was turn off my phone, so I'm going to turn that off now. Those are beautiful pictures, and of course, we'll link to your website, but if folks are anxious right now and they're watching this, where's your website? Where can they look and buy pictures?
So it's konatina.com, and then my Instagram is Hawai'i Night Skies, at Hawai'i Night Skies.
It's one of my favorite, you're one of my favorite people to follow on Instagram because you post such beautiful photos that really make me stop and think. So thank you very much. Thank you. So Tina, you were at PATH for 7 years, and it was under your leadership that the organization really began to lean deeply into active transportation programming and policy work here on Hawai'i Island. During your tenure at PATH, we saw instrumental coalescing of the Mayor's Active Living Advisory Council, or MALIC, something that has a committee that has continued to work under 3 different mayoral administrations. Under your leadership, PATH realized the dream of creating 6 miles of protected multimodal trails in Kona, the Walua Trail, and the first section of Queens Lay. We know it's not done, our work continues. And I know how well loved those trails are because you and I walk them every week because you are kind enough to be my friend and mentor as I get my PATH legs and my Hawai'i Island legs. You expanded bicycle and pedestrian education in the schools and community. You said yes in 2016 to launching Bike Share when the county came to you with the idea of bringing those blue bikes over to Hawai'i Island. Here we are so many years later, and what a success story. Hawai'i Island now has 11 bike share stations and is about to get a bunch more. Ridership has skyrocketed. It is written into the county's multimodal transportation plan. And finally, arguably, one of the biggest lifts of your leadership, and one that has the potential to do more to create safe, accessible, and convenient conditions for multimodal transportation and active transportation, is bringing the Vision Zero initiative to Hawai'i Island. Before we get into the specifics of Vision Zero, I was hoping you could tell us or share with us a few highlights from your tenure at PATH that might help us understand where we have been as an island in regards to active transportation and where we're going.
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go all the way back to the beginning of PATH. Actually, as far back as 1986. And that's when my experience with the organization started. In 1986, our friend Ronnie Fennell was killed while riding his bicycle, training for Ironman out on Queen Ka'aamanu Highway. And the athletic community at the time, of course, said, you know, we've got to do something about this. We have to get safe places to ride. So my best friend, Tony Fortin, and I attended a meeting at the King Kamehameha Kona Beach Hotel. And it was organized for the purpose of getting a group of people together to advocate for bike lanes. So I was a single point focus at the time. When the meeting moderator called for a volunteer chair, Tony nudged me and said, come on, you should volunteer. It'll be fun. I will help. You just don't say no to Tony. That just isn't done. And I reluctantly raised my hand. At the time, I had a brand new dive shop that I was running, and I had never done any community organizing. And I was totally out of my wheelhouse. But anyway, I raised my hand, and immediately afterwards, Tony Fortin, Ken Cates, Nick Rott, George and Hilda Schumann, and I formed what was then called the Kona Community Safety Lane. So again, our single point focus was to get bike lanes on Ali'i Drive. We figured we'd start there because that would be easier. So move ahead, and in 1992, we knew that we had to build our grassroots, and we added a bike ed program for 4th graders. Mostly in the Kona area, but it was a 3-day program, and we taught kids how to ride. Now, about this time, I had moved on, but Tony stayed involved. In fact, she stayed involved until her death in 2012. In 1994, PATH started the nation's first ever pedestrian education program. So in 1985, we realized our scope was getting much larger, and we decided to change our name from the Kona Community Safety Lane to PATH, People's Advocacy for Trails Hawaii. In 1996, we developed the Old Walua Trail bike and ped route under Annie Peterson. And we began at that time to engage in several Safe Routes to School initiatives. So you can see our scope is just getting larger and larger, still staying true to our mission of safely connecting people and places. In 2011, I think that was a real turning point for PATH, because we engaged in a statewide effort to bring about complete streets to the state and to the county. Complete streets is a ruling that says anytime a street is touched, whether it be maintenance, repair, new street, then there needs to be, wherever and whenever practicable, facilities design developed to have bike lanes, sidewalks, or improved shoulders, so that the streets become more usable for all people, not just motor vehicle drivers. So that was 2011. We passed the County of Hawaii Complete Streets Resolution in 2011. So I came back to PATH in 2013. And it's just been a whirlwind ever since. In 2014, we initiated the Mayor's Active Living Advisory Council. And MALAC, as you mentioned, Jess, is actually a meeting, ideally once a month, with department heads from the County of Hawaii. So it would be DPW, planning, the mayor's office, mass transit, Parks and Rec sometimes. And this is where we come together to discuss all things active transportation, and where a lot of decisions are made as to PATH's direction. And, you know, it's an opportunity for PATH to kind of influence the discussion. As you said, that organization or that committee has actually transcended 3 administrations so far, which is unheard of. In 2015 to 2019, we were contracted to be the Safe Routes School coordinator for the County of Hawaii. And in 2016, you mentioned bike share. The county came to us and asked us to create a bike share pilot program, which was awesome because, you know, for 30 odd years, we've been saying bikes are good things, bike lanes are good things. And the county came to us and said, bikes are good things, and we would like to see this program in our county. And also that year, that was an epic year, we worked with the county to develop Queenslay. Queenslay right now is 3.5 miles of shared use pathway on Anikeokolole, and it's envisioned to be ultimately a 17.6 mile loop trail that goes all the way to Palamanui, and then across Queen Ka'amano Highway down Queen Ka'amano back to Kailua Kona. So that was a lot. I mean, in those 30 odd years, there were a lot of new developments. Our scope has grown. And now we've changed our name again, which I think is totally appropriate because we are indeed advocates for active transportation. And we've stayed true to that. So some of the things that I'm most proud of, as our scope expanded, we continued our 4th grade bike ed program. And I think one of the last years I was with PATH, we had taught over 4,000 kids how to ride. And, you know, that's such a rite of passage for kids, right? That sense of freedom, the wind in your hair, it's so exciting. And another thing that makes me proud is after 30 years of telling anyone who would listen that bikes and bike lanes are good things, you know, here we are. And I don't think we have to convince anybody anymore. I think it's you know, it's part of, bike lanes are part of our roadways and should be part of every new roadways. And if they're not, then PATH is here to make sure that they do become part of our roadways. Finally, I attribute so many of our accomplishments to, in the last few years, to MALAC. You know, having that opportunity to sit down with the members of the cabinet and really talk about active transportation, the whys and the hows, and learning the challenges and learning the opportunities. And it was in Malik, during a Malik meeting, that Michael Yee, who was the director of planning at the time, brought to our attention a program called Vision Zero. Vision Zero is an initiative whereby we strive to eliminate traffic fatalities and serious injuries on our roadways. Michael had gone to a work-study program in Portland and Seattle and heard about Seattle's Vision Zero program and brought it back. And he said he was just appalled that at that time we had 18 deaths. And more than that, not only 18 deaths, but we have in Hawaii County had, and I believe still have, the highest per capita death rate in the state from traffic fatalities, which is unreasonable and incomprehensible. Anyway, so we started talking about Vision Zero, and the rest is history. And I'll tell you that in 2019, we asked Mayor Kim to adopt Vision Zero as an initiative and to help put together a Vision Zero task force. Many of the members are his cabinet directors, and we'll learn more about that in a few minutes.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Tina. I am so grateful that you are here to share the work of PATH, the history, and then looking forward to, it kind of gives us a possible roadmap for how we can continue this important work. So speaking of Vision Zero, we're about to dig into some of that. I was a member before I came to PATH. I was at Oregon Walks, and I sat in Portland, Oregon. That's where I was located. And I sat on Portland's Vision Zero task force. And this is a initiative that started in Sweden. And it's a strategy, as you said, to eliminate all traffic fatalities and severe injuries. So there's this idea that traffic deaths are not accidents. They're, it's sometimes called death by design. We have created a system that has traffic injuries and fatalities built into the system. And we know that we can change that system because it's been done in other places to eliminate traffic related deaths. And we also know that bicyclists and pedestrians are our most vulnerable road users. So if you drill down on that data, you know that the people who are most at risk, and oftentimes are people who have the least access to single occupancy vehicles, are people who are walking or bicycling on our roadways. So what can we collectively do to change that system? We know that you and Michael Yee and Malik brought Vision Zero to Hawaii County. And last year we had some great work to bring that forward. So hoping that you can share with us, the story of Vision Zero here on Hawai'i Island.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And don't worry, you don't have to keep looking at my face while we're talking about Vision Zero. I actually have some slides that I'd like to show. But again, as you described, Vision Zero is a data-based initiative to get to zero fatalities, and the premise is that that people will make mistakes as they're driving. We are humans, but our road design and our speeds do not have to dictate that when we make mistakes that those mistakes are fatal. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Excellent. And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and just let folks know that we are going to link to the Vision Zero action plan and also the Vision Zero website for Hawaii County, wherever this video is posted.
Great. So back in 2019, we asked Mayor Kim, as I mentioned, to adopt the Vision Zero initiative and to have his department heads and other citizens work to come up with an action plan that would get us to 0 fatalities in by 2030. I have to say we've kind of gone backwards a little bit over the last year, I think, because other things have really taken the attention of the county, and this has not been top of mind. But we are so excited to get back on track and start to turn our trends back to where they need to go. So here's the proclamation on the right-hand side that Mayor Kim proclaimed in February of 2019. And here's a description or definition of what Vision Zero is on the left-hand side. We asked Mayor Kim at that time to authorize the development of a Vision Zero task force. And that task force was made up of people from different departments you see on the left-hand side, and also different state agencies and county agencies and private citizens and organizations like Blue Zone and PATH. And here's a list of the people that were involved in this task force. Now, this task force met at least 4 times over a year to develop this action plan. And the most wonderful thing is that everybody kept coming back to each meeting. I mean, they took this work seriously. They were all in. It was a great sharing of information. There was no pointing fingers. There was no blaming anyone or any organization. It was just, how do we all work together to come up with this action plan and reduce these fatalities? So the action plan, which is now on the county website on the mayor's page, goes over, why are we doing Vision Zero? Why are we doing this initiative? What the current situation is, and how do we bring about change? And what are our action items? On the left-hand side, where it's living remembrance, is the law of the splintered paddle. And this is actually a law of the land in Hawaii. And it basically says that everyone, from the old man and the woman and children, be free to go forth and lie in the road without fear of harm. This goes back to King Kamehameha. He actually decreed this law. And we take that to mean that anyone that uses our roadways should be able to do so without fear of harm. Our mission statement, back on the right-hand side for the Vision Zero action plan, is to work together to eliminate all traffic fatalities while increasing safety, health, and equitable mobility for all. So why Vision Zero? It's a shift in philosophy to prioritize the preservation of human life over the convenience of traveling quickly on the streets across our island. It's a different approach. It says that traffic deaths are preventable, that we know that we're humans, we will have human failings, and we need to accommodate those failings on our roadways by good design. We want to prevent severe crashes as well as fatalities. And it's different than the traditional approach to traffic safety, which is saving lives is expensive. We declare that through Vision Zero that saving lives is not expensive. In fact, losing lives is more expensive than saving lives. So I've highlighted on the right-hand side some of our principles that we use to put together our action plan. And one of the things, number 5, is it's a focus on system level changes. So it's working with many, many different departments: police department, Department of Public Works, planning department, fire safety, and healthcare departments and organizations to come up with some plans that will change the current dynamic. And most importantly, number 8, communities should have a voice in defining issues and developing solutions for their own community. We know that each community on Hawai'i Island is in some ways alike, but in many ways different. And so each community should have their own voice on what safety on the roadways looks like to them. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down here. Here we go. So if you go to the action plan on the mayor's website, you'll see, and we'll get into this in a minute, but you'll see a lot of crash maps with a lot of different data. And again, I keep wanting to emphasize that Vision Zero is a data-driven initiative. It's not about what we think is happening. It's not about what we feel is happening. It's about what actually, in fact, is happening based on the data we're able to gather. So I had mentioned the traffic fatalities per capita. I believe that still holds true today. It certainly was the truth for the last several years. And where does this data come from? It comes from Hawaii County Police Department, the Department of Transportation, NHTSA, Fatality Analysis Reporting System, the National Center for Statistics and Analysis, and the US Census Bureau. And our goal through one of our action plans is fluid and timely sharing of all this data, and data that everybody's system can understand and can use in order to make decisions. One of the things that we found out through the data that we've gathered from about 2013 to 2018, that people traveling by foot, bicycle, or motorcycle or moped have a much greater likelihood of being killed than those in automobiles. So this just is that vulnerable road user that you were speaking of earlier. And you can see in our action plan some actual figures from 2013 to 2019, the number of people, vulnerable road users who have died in traffic crashes. These are an example of one of the crash maps that I was telling you about, and these are throughout the action plan. And if you take a look at these maps, you'll start to see where the high fatality networks are. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but over on the west side of the island, Kailua Kona, all these little dots are fatalities and serious injuries. And they're with motor vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians. Same thing is true in the Hilo side. And then all along the highway here, you'll see several dots that reflect fatalities around Hawai'i Island. The interesting thing that we learned is 67% of our fatalities occurred on state-owned roads, which isn't a surprise because look, here's all of this is a state-owned road, and 28% occur in county-owned roads. But if you think about it, there's typically more congestion on the county-owned roads in the high population areas, so traffic is going slower. And speed, as you'll see in a moment, is definitely a factor. So the significance of the data for speed is that 41% traffic crashes involve excessive speed. And the majority of these speed-related crashes happen in areas posted with a posted speed limit of 35 miles an hour or less. And, you know, we've all been on the road and we've been behind traffic and, you know, and finally we get to a straightaway and we might pull out and try and get past a slower driver who's not in the same schedule as we are. And that's where a lot of those crashes happen. this is, there's throughout this report, there's all these wonderful graphs that just give information, like this one over here on the right-hand side, the lower right, shows that if a person, the percentage of pedestrians hit at 20 miles an hour that actually suffer fatality is 13%. And if you take the speed up to 40 miles an hour, it's 73%. And nowadays we have, big cars, we have big SUVs. And when a person gets hit as a pedestrian or a cyclist or a skateboarder by these big cars, then they typically get hit in the chest area, chest to the knees. And it's really hard to survive that. Here's another interesting statistic, that 56% of our fatal crashes on Hawai'i Island were a result of either alcohol or drugs. And here's a chart that shows the different types of drugs that we're talking about and where these crashes happen. This map shows roadway visibility. One would think that the majority of these crashes happen at night, when it's dark, especially with our lighting ordinance on the Big Island. But the reality is that 51% of these crashes had happened at night, and the balance had happened during the daytime. Peak traffic hours, you would think, okay, there's a lot of cars on the road. That's when the crashes are going to happen because there's so many cars. But the reality from our data is that most of the crashes happen outside of peak traffic hours, like from 1 to 4 or 7 to 10. In the mornings we have school traffic, so there's a lot of congestion. In the afternoons we have coming home from work traffic, and there's a lot more congestion. So it's those off-peak hours where our crashes are happening. Age and gender. This is something that really struck me. And it really, I think is something that we do need to make known across our communities. I don't know that most people realize that most of our crashes were the 20 to 24-year-old age group. And when I say crashes, I don't mean crashes, I mean fatalities, crash fatalities. And most of those 20 to 24-year-olds were male. Mm-hmm. If you look at this chart, the top one, see the blue bars, that's our population. So this long, tall column is actually our 60 to 64, I believe, which is a large part of our population. But if you look at this peak here with the red dot on the top, that's our 20 to 24-year-olds. And that's where our crashes are happening. So 20 to 24-year-old males, I think that's something that we need to talk more about.
As the mother of a 20-year-old male, I am going to be sharing this with him, and we're going to review this. It is something, as a system, we need to identify and see what we can't do to bring those numbers down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is our youth. This is our future. We need to keep them safe. We need to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
So another crash data point, driving is thought to cause about 25% of our fatal crashes. And distracted driving is hard to prove, but there are ways that it can be proven. So, we need to put those cell phones away. We need to not put our makeup on when we're driving. We need to maybe put our coffee cup down and, pay attention to the road, what's going on the road. Roadside crashes, 28% of our crashes were actually a result of somebody leaving the roadway, going into barriers or trees. And then I talked about motor vehicle types. You can see that light trucks and vans were 41% of our, were the vehicles that our fatal crashes occurred in, and passenger cars were 38%. So a lot of really good information that gives us another way to look at traffic fatalities.
Looks like we have a caller coming in here. I'm going to go ahead and mute them.
Okay.
And then we will, yep, we're muted. So welcome to our caller. Tina is continuing to tell us about the Vision Zero action plan. And so we'll have an opportunity at the end for you to ask questions.
Okay, so we took about a year to work with several partners to gather this data, to analyze this data, to interpret this data, and use it as the basis of our action plan. And based on the data, we came up with a set of plans to start to try and change the picture of fatalities on Hawai'i Island. And we base this on the 5 E's: engineering, education, enforcement, encouragement, and evaluation. And in each of those 5 E sections, we have a series of action plans, some short, some medium, some long-term plans that we feel if we can act on them and implement them, we can actually start to reduce traffic and eventually eliminate traffic fatalities. So this action plan, again, is on the County of Hawaii website in the mayor's, on the mayor's site. And I just put up on the screen here, I don't know if our callers can see this, but just a sample of the action plans for, I believe this was for enforcement. So you'll see short-term, midterm, and long-term action plans. And we've actually, this was put together, this was completed in 2020. It was accepted by the county council, and each year, so soon, we owe the county council a report on where we are in relation to the plan, and you know, what our challenges and our opportunities have been, and where we go from here. So that's the plan. I'm going to stop sharing right now. There we go. And do I need to do anything else, Jess? Nope. Okay.
Muted. There we go. Zoom life. That's a great overview of the Vision Zero action plan, kind of the history of how it came to Hawai'i Island, and the beautiful work that was done to create this action plan, which calls out, using the 5 E's, real targeted short-term and long-term and medium-term goals. And as you said, we did, a lot of work was done in 2020. In 2021, we have, you know, PATH has been instrumental in kind of keeping this work front of mind, which has been a challenge, considering, of course, COVID-19 is continuing to cause challenges in terms of focus on traffic fatalities and crashes. Serious crashes. And then the other piece of that is that we had a new mayoral administration. So every time you have a mayoral administration, there is kind of a lag time as they get their cabinets in settled. But Mayor Roth has been a longtime supporter of Vision Zero, and was actually a member of the task force when he was a prosecutor for Hawaii County. Is a from what I understand, a very big believer in systemically making some changes so that we can lower and eventually decrease the serious. Really good question. That's a really good question. Tina, I had a few more questions. In looking at that Vision Zero action plan, what do you see as as you kind of look through it, and you're thinking about the county's capacity, the state's capacity, the advocacy world's capacity, what do you see as kind of some low-hanging fruit for the Vision Zero action plan in terms of implementation in the next year, 2 years?
I think one of the things that is really important is to bring into focus and top of mind, the story of our crashes, the number of crashes. I had mentioned that, I don't know that I'd mentioned, but I don't know if you're aware, but I know you are, Jess. I don't know if you are, Maureen, that once a week, Tori Keltner sent an email, a text and an email, actually listing the, he calls it the DUI stats, but it actually reports on the number of major accidents and traffic fatalities in a certain time frame, like a week. And what I always find really interesting is the year-to-date comparison. And this year, we've had 616 major accidents so far, compared to 594 during the same period last year. And a major accident is something that is considered damage of $3,000 or more to a motor vehicle, or not a person, but to a vehicle. What is more disturbing is this year we've had 20 fatal crashes, resulting in 20 fatalities, compared to 13 crashes, resulting in 13 fatalities last year. So we're trending in the wrong direction. We were doing better, and now we are, we went from 18 to 13, and now we're at 20. And I think getting the word out to the general public, Tori's doing a good job. I don't know how many people actually see that information, but I think the county and PATH and people who are concerned, if we can get the word out, I think it will draw more attention to, hey, there's something definitely going on here that we need to resolve. One of the things that we would, and I don't know if this is low-hanging fruit, but one of the visions we have for the Vision Zero page on the mayor's website is actually an interactive map where people can say, can indicate a point on a map, on a GPS map, and say this is a dangerous roadway or a dangerous intersection, and this is why. So that the community is actually inputting into the data that we're gathering. It's anecdotal, yes, but it's also people know what what happens in their communities and what happens on their roadways, and they have a sense of how they'd like to see that roadway becomes safer. So an opportunity to get community input. All of this, is going to take staffing on somebody's part, whether it be the county or PATH, if there was funding for that. But it is an opportunity. We do now have the opportunity to develop that kind of interactive data gathering. Another thing that we can do is, again, because people know their community so well, is to meet with different community members and have the community members come up with an educational program. That was one of the 4 E's, right? Education, and then also encouragement. And, I had mentioned that the greatest number of fatalities happen in that 20 to 24-year-old male segment of our population. That's somebody's son, uncle, nephew, father. And so getting the community together to help develop an educational program that can change that trend. So those are a third thing is just the more fluid and timely exchange of data from the Department of Transportation and NHTSA to the police department and then to Public Works, and causing an opportunity for very timely crash audits, so that these different departments can look together to determine how and why this crash happened and what design elements we might change in order to mitigate that in the future. So those are just some
That's
of
wonderful. That's wonderful. And I can assure you, you know this because you help mentor me every week on our walks, that PATH is committed to helping facilitate those Vision Zero Task Force meetings so that we can begin to continue to check down the action plan list. We're very happy to announce that the mayor has and the county have put up a Vision Zero website now, which we will link to, which has all of the crash data listed. And that's where, as we move into 2022 and we start collecting more data, we'll continue to be posting that on that website, and then developing different interventions based on the action plan to try to help those numbers go down. So really looking forward to that work. Tina, you have done so much over the years, and PATH has done so much over the years. I knew, you are one of the reasons you are so effective is because you believe so deeply in the collective. And one of the reasons why this Vision Zero action plan is so fantastic. And I have seen a lot of Vision Zero action plans over the years, and this one is phenomenal. And it's not just me saying this. It won an award from the American Planning Association, and I have this here. I'm going to deliver it. This is the virtual give to you, Tina, but I will deliver it in person on our next walk. It is my honor to give you and I'm going to read it here, Transportation Planning Award for the County of Hawaii Vision Zero Action Plan for 2021. So on behalf of PATH, on behalf of all of our friends at the county, at our partners, Hi-Fi, the University of Hawaii Hilo, the community college, the hospital, everyone who came together under your leadership and Michael Yee's leadership at the county to make this happen. SSFM, Peter Kuntz, thank you so much and congratulations.
Well, thank you, Jess. And on behalf of all those people, the 26 task force members, Mayor Kim, April, Natasha, Michael, the co-facilitators, SSFM, as you said, all our partners, Blue Zones, I mean, there's so many people were involved. I humbly accept this award on behalf of everyone that put the plan together. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the PATH Board of Directors, by the way.
And the PATH Board of Directors. Exactly. Right. Exactly. So just want to let folks know that wherever this video is posted or clips of this video are posted, we will have links to the Vision Zero Action Plan, history of Vision Zero, opportunities for you to plug into PATH, opportunities for you to plug into the Vision Zero Task Force, and also a link to Tina Clothier photographers, amazing website. And she will also be taking pictures of some of our upcoming initiatives so that we can continue to share that good work with our communities. Tina, you get the last word. What is one piece of advice or wisdom you can share with those working to create safe, accessible, active transportation and multimodal options here on Hawai'i Island?
Okay. I would have to say, Jess, that the best advice I can give is to never give up. You know, PATH has been around for over 30 years. This type of work takes patience, it takes persistence, it takes collaboration. It really takes an understanding of the long-term nature of planning and the cost of improvements to our roadways and the challenges that come with all of that. You know, some of our visions, some of the things we envision will not happen in our lifetime, but everything we do builds on itself and makes for a safer future. You have heard me say so many times, and I'm sorry for this, but about the boulder, that our work is like pushing a boulder up a very steep incline, like a 12% grade or 20% grade. And, you know, I really believe in over the last 30 years, we've actually gotten that boulder up to the top of that grade. And now we're rolling that boulder on level ground. You know, we don't have to explain what traffic calming is, what bike lanes are, why sidewalks or widened shoulders, or what is bike share, you know, that it's people know all of this now. So when we first started talking about this, we were the lone voice in the dark, you know, and we're no longer that lone voice in the dark. We have so many partners that are on the same page, saying the same things, working for the same things. So I believe for all our lack of safe road facilities, we have made tremendous strides, and we will continue to, and it's only going to accelerate, and that's a good kind of acceleration. So I just want to say, don't give up, don't get discouraged, just know that things are definitely improving and will continue to. So keep up the good work.
Oh, Tina, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your words always inspire in me, and I know that they're going to continue to inspire those who are continuing this good work here to make sure that all of us can travel safely by bike, walking, or assisted mobility device here on Hawai'i Island. So thank you so much for being all the work that you've done, and also for being our inaugural PATH Connection speaker. It was wonderful. It was wonderful to do it with you, and especially to honor the good work of the Vision Zero Action Plan. So thank you so much. And for those, Maureen, thanks for calling in. And for all of those who are watching this recording afterwards, please look at the links wherever this video is posted. We'll be sure to list path.org, pathhawaii.org, along with all of the Vision Zero materials and opportunities for plugging in. So without further ado,